Melbourne is home to over 4 million residents and regularly features in the top rankings of world's most livable cities.
Melbourne. At first glance, it seems like the perfect city. It's easy to get caught up in the breathtaking views and the bustle of Melbourne's central business district. But beneath its surface, every city has its demons.
4 police cars have been trashed by thugs who jumped on their roofs during a violent...
The question is, what are its citizens doing about it? We set out to investigate the burning question: how are Melburnians tackling their city's social and economic injustices?
So my initial thoughts when planning the big question was pretty cliche. Well, I assumed that we'll find people who made a difference in our society.
People fail to realize that not only are larger organizations supporting minority groups, but many civilians are also responsible for aiding them too.
As our ideal society, it is that we as individuals help people who struggle to have a proper life with a good family. Whether it be individuals, small organizations, or large corporations.
I think that in Melbourne there are a lot of issues that we're uneducated about or that we don't necessarily know the full scale of, and I'm hoping to gain an insight into some of those issues.
The ideals in Melbourne society is perceived as perfect, but our intention is to get to the root of the problem. The reason why Melbourne's perfect display has a story behind it and what it is.
I think racism is still a very big issue. Equality for women, just generally being nice, inclusiveness of everybody.
Unaffordable housing. Yes. I suppose it's deeper than that, really. But
difficulty in gaining employment for some people.
It's a good time for you to do this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm really upset because it's about that homeless woman down there. Actually, he's trying to leave here, and the police said
One of the biggest issues, in her opinion, was housing. It's the right to a house, she said. It's the right to a safe place to live. She also said that jobs and the economy are unfair, especially for young people. She told us that she personally volunteers with GetUp, an online community, and Reconciliation Victoria, which deals with Indigenous rights. Now that we have an idea of what injustices need to be tackled, it's time to set out to find the Melburnians that are taking the first steps in creating change. Our investigation brings us to the Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation, an organisation tackling a range of injustices within the community.
So I'm the Chief Marketing and Development Officer for Lord Mayor's Charitable Foundation. As I alluded to, there are 4 impact areas. You mentioned a couple, so environment and sustainability, which is a big one at the moment. Globally, everyone is talking about climate change and how we adapt to a low-carbon economy. Melbourne, very surprisingly, is one of the largest contributors to carbon emissions in the world. The other impact areas that you mentioned, homelessness and affordable housing, specifically looks to help people who are homelessness or have reached an entrenchment into homelessness. There's some very large projects that we've funded recently. One is with Osnum House, which is part of Vincent Care. There's a 15-storey building that we've provided a signature grant to that assists people who are struggling with homelessness.
Our next stop is Youth Projects Melbourne, an organisation who provides assistance for homeless youth.
So I joined Youth Projects in September 2017, so I've been the CEO for almost 12 months, but I've been in the youth services and community health sector for around 13 years now. For some pretty critical and unique work. So we provide a high-impact, no-judgment support service for very, very vulnerable Victorians. Here in Melbourne CBD, we have a primary health service or a medical clinic. So 5 nights a week on the streets of Melbourne, we have a team of qualified nurses out there delivering basic primary health care. We run employability skills, youth counselling programs, training programs and social enterprise for young people. And the idea is really that we capture young people who can be quite vulnerable or disadvantaged really early and help set them on the right track. Work to remove the stigma around people who are experiencing homelessness or young people that are vulnerable. This is very negative rhetoric or narrative, but not all homeless people are dole bludgers that are out there begging on the streets. Something very traumatic has typically happened in their life to lead them to the position that they are today. So the first thing that you can do is be kind. Have a chat to a person that's experiencing homelessness. Be kind, give eye contact, talk to them from your heart and just be a person and help remove and end the stigma that's associated with homelessness. Sure. Look, I think that we are known as Melbourne's only medical clinic for the homeless, but I think a lot more can be done to educate the community in terms of the need to work in this space.
Our journey continues with a stop by at RDoc, a charity supporting children's education.
I've been at RDoc nearly 2 years now, and it's been exciting 2 years to really learn about the scale of educational disadvantage. So our work is really about increasing aspiration, building engagement and enhancing the learning outcomes of children in disadvantaged communities who may not have access to as many opportunities so that they can realise their potential. One of RDoc's greatest challenges is our ability to raise the funds we need to support the work that we do. The challenge for us is also the opportunity. The more resources that we can raise, the more schools and children we're able to reach.
Along our way, we came across some police officers and asked them why they do the job they do.
Sounds really corny, but I joined to make a difference. So you do a job where you go home every day and in a good way or a bad way, you've changed people's lives.
I've been volunteering for about 2.5 years and started as a full-time employee about 2 years ago. Orange Sky are a free mobile and shower service for people who are experiencing homelessness. But the main thing that we do when we're on shift is we pull out 6 orange chairs and we sit down and have chats with our friends on the street. So anyone doing it tough can come and use our service, and like I said, our volunteers are there to have non-judgmental conversations. So while the washers are spinning and the dryers are tumbling, that's what we do.
Nearing the end of our journey, we have one final stop. An interview with Victorian of the Year, Susan Alberti.
Sure. So the first one is, what is the journey that led you to being the Victorian of the Year and the Melbourneian of the Year?
Oh, it's been a long journey. I think I started off at about the age of 6 as an entrepreneur because I came from a very humble beginning. Giving back to me has been incredibly important, is part of who I am. And I guess it's because I've given back and led in so many different ways. I'm passionate about Australians and Australia, and I like to support young students and young children to be the best that they can.
So what difference has the Susan Alberti Medical Research Association made in our current society?
Well, my Medical Research Foundation, I formed that a number of years ago. So I set up my own foundation, and probably in that time I've raised, raised about $150 million. I've been very fortunate with government on both sides. I work with both sides of government. It's all about medical research and it's about the Australian community. It's not about me. It never has been about me. It was primarily about type 1 diabetes research because of my daughter, who was diagnosed in 81 and then subsequently died, unfortunately, in 2001. I support research more broadly now, not just type 1, but cancer research. I mean, having had cancer myself, and heart research, had open heart surgery as well. So it's more broadly now, and I do this almost full time. And if I can now influence others to be good citizens and give back, well, then I know I'm doing a good job.
In this week, the light shone on issues and heroes has been absolutely astonishing, and my views on stigmatized issues like homelessness have shifted enormously. The views and opinions of experts in the field, their stories and knowledge have highlighted the alienation of helpless people from society.
After the many interviews and talking to the public, I'm really amazed how each individual can do so much to improve our society. An example was this lady who was in tears after seeing the police trying to remove a homeless woman.
I can confidently say that I've learned and grasped an understanding on what types of difference Melbourne has to make in order to change our community.
The one thing that I've taken away from all the conversations we've had this week is that in order to combat our problems, we need to start by spreading word of them. Education sparks action. We need to start by spreading the word.